It's every Red Raiders' favorite podcast. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
I'm Mike Hebert, owner of Cantex Roofing and Construction. Every day is game day, and we'll get it right when it comes to your roofing, construction, windows, and mirrors. Call Cantex Roofing and Construction today. Together, we are one serving you.
It is, it's Tech Talk on Double T 97.3, DoubleTSportsNetwork.com, and the Double T 97.3 mobile app, brought to you by our friends at Happy State Bank. Thank you for joining us. Keep hitting us up on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Thoughts, whatever you got. Rangers, Astros thoughts, college football thoughts, NFL thoughts, pickleball thoughts, high life thoughts, anything there is welcome on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. You can also call us on the Visual Edge IT hotline, 806-771-0973. It was a 6-3 final last night for the Houston Astros as they beat the Texas Rangers in a very big series opener. Game 2 will be tonight, 6:30. We will lead you all the way up to it. And you know, if you're the Rangers, really if you were either one, you really can't drop this series, but especially if you're the Rangers, just since you are the team that is starting from behind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes it tough.
Merrill Kelly will go for the Rangers tonight. And Gus, AJ Blueball, right?
Yes, sir.
Need to pronounce it properly.
Dangerous.
Have you seen
If I was wrong, that would have been weird.
Yankees starter maybe tonight. Clint? Let me make sure I'm right about that.
Okay.
You keep going, big fella.
And the Astros call will be 7 o'clock, 100.7 the score, because tonight it will follow the high school fan zone, Gus. Monterey at 6, Coronado at 6:30. Coaches will join Randy Rosetta right here in the First United Bank studio. The Houston Texans, you're their Lone Star NFL team, fell by a single point to Tampa Bay. It was a 20-19 final. It appeared at the time, Gus, that the Texans had done enough with a very, very late touchdown. Their first full-length drive was a touchdown. Their last full-length drive was a touchdown. And I guess I really didn't even get a drive off there at the end, because the Bucks scored with like 6 seconds left, and then they ran out the game. That's right, with the return. So outside of that, they certainly had a chance. The second to last drive the third to last drive, first one in the fourth quarter, was where they push it all the way to the 1 yard line, and then they get nothing on a run play, and then do back-to-back passing plays and don't find anything. And then the Bucks worked out of it enough, but then that was a blocked punt that eventually gave a field goal to the Texans. But you go back to that decision, it's easy to say now, hey, if you take a field goal in that spot, points-wise, you would have won that game. Who knows the butterfly effect? But that was a tough one for the Texans, who start 0-2 and will be looking to bounce back. They will be at Jacksonville this weekend. Texas Tech announced that they will have the 1993 Natties, the champs, Gus, the national champion Lady Raider team, inducted into the Ring of Honor. Very cool here. This will happen when the Lady Raiders host Arkansas on November 16th. So looking forward to that.
Yes, it is. Red Raider football, I think, plays on the 14th. I'm sorry. The men's basketball team plays on the 14th. You got home football, the home finale, 15th. Talking about basketball on the 16th. Oh, fun little weekend there.
Ah, how about that?
Yep. If you're excited about the hoops and you're still excited about the football team, there you go.
Hopefully we're still excited about the football team.
I think we will be, but yeah.
Texas Tech junior cornerback Bryce Pollock was recognized as co-Big 12 Defensive Player of the Week after not one, but two interceptions in the Red Raiders' victory over Oregon State. He is the second Red Raider in as many weeks to be honored with the weekly award on the defensive side. They're following Skylar Gill Howard. Gus, I think we're well on our way. I can't remember, did I put the over-under on 4.5 weekly awards? 3.5? Something like that?
I thought it was 3.5 was your number.
Well, it's really good if I said it at 3.5. My
Sure.
memory's not good, but it's really
Love
good
it.
if I said it at 3.5.
Keep stacking them up, boys.
Yeah. I would venture to guess, with as big of a game as this weekend in Utah, that somewhere the winner would have a weekly award mixed in there somewhere. Just comparing that to some of the other matchups, unless you just had some crazy, never seen before, not really going to compete at all stats elsewhere in the Big 12, which you never know. I wouldn't say I'm expecting with the matchups when you look up and down, but I would venture to guess whoever wins on Saturday would have a weekly award somewhere.
Yeah, you would think so. I mean, I guess, some maybe there's probably some ways around that if no single individual has a bonkers statistical day.
Mm-hmm. And even then,
But sure.
We've already seen so many co's.
Right, sure.
Nothing from stopping a co there.
The co's, by the way, help. If we knew that the co's were truly something that was available here,
mm-hmm.
then I would have moved your 3.5. I would have taken the overs or suggested you move that 3.5 up to 4.5 or 5.5.
It's just difficult to win
co's.
those consistently, right? And
Yes.
and I don't know if they'll do the co's every single week or anything like that. It's probably easier to do right now because, you had co-offensive players of the week, and one of them was Brendan Sorsby because the Cincinnati quarterback was 15 of 15 and just had a bonkers stat line of efficiency against Northwestern State. But it's okay, well, it's Northwestern. You're trying to do that with Northwestern State, but still, at the end of the day, that's a great stat line, right? That wasn't something you should knock. So I understand more right now. And then when you condense the amount of games, I would think you'll see less of that. But who knows? As long as you keep winning them, Gus, I don't care. We also had the announcement yesterday of the Mahomes galvanized uniform. Did you like the icy white version of the Mahomes jersey? Last year, you saw the gray, silver, whatever version of it. This year, just kind of kept the same look, but you've made it white.
I think I like this. I think I like this one better.
I like this one more.
Yep. And that's just because to me, the metallic didn't pop as much.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? Go win the game. Then we can.
And that'll be against BYU.
We can devote a whole segment to the fashion.
Well,
after we win, how's that?
And that game, you're wearing them will be the weekend against BYU. And one more for you. You have another prediction from Rivals. This is fun stuff, Gus. 4-star defensive lineman Adrian Redmond, who has made a string of visits out here to Lubbock, has just picked up a prediction. But as we said last week with the prediction that came true on a certain offensive lineman who had decommitted from Arkansas, is now in your 26 recruiting class. Usually these predictions have a pretty high success rate.
Agree.
Just the momentum with that is just crazy.
Yeah. So, I mean, we I don't want to say generations, but we went sometimes decades at a time without players like this in recruiting.
Mm-hmm.
And many times they didn't involve defensive players. There for the longest time we had a really offensive identity, and so we might get a high-end receiver that knew he was going to catch a bunch of balls.
More Tech Talk next.
The podcast put together with Red Raider fans in mind. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
It is Tech Talk on Double T 97.3. Thank you for joining us, Clint, Gus, and Home Improvement's biggest fan, / Tim Allen's biggest fan, Brennan Riker, behind the glass.
What are you even talking about? What does that
It was
mean?
a show in 1991.
I know what the show was.
So when we were going like, "Grr," you didn't obviously know we were making Tim Allen noises? Yeah, what did he sound like, Gus?
I did it. I think he already clipped it.
Oh.
Some of my finest work. You and I are very, very good at the imitations.
I don't know what's better, our Owen Wilson or our Tim Allen.
I don't know. I feel better about my Tim Allen. Neither of them very good.
What did that sound like again? If you call the Visual Edge IT hotline, 806-771-0973, Brennan Riker will give you his best Tim Allen noise. No words, just sounds.
With his little voice.
Focus, guys! Come on, keep your composure.
Hey,
The Brennan Riker Tim Allen's very funny.
have you looked at the next 6 games for the Arizona State Sun Devils?
It's funny you say that.
Well,
Because I've looked at a lot of Big 12's next 6 games, and Arizona State hasn't been one of them.
Or have you really?
Yeah, because I was looking at Kansas State's to see what wins I thought they were going to get. I've looked at Utah's, Baylor's, and somehow I have not looked at Arizona State's.
I mean, it's too early to really feel like we have a tremendous handle on who's really good and who isn't, right? But we've seen some good things out of some of these teams. But here's their next 6 games: Arizona State at Baylor this weekend. Maybe the second best matchup in the league. Maybe.
I think it is. I do want to talk about this matchup.
Sure. Well, hang on. 6 days after that, on a Friday night, TCU at Arizona State. Another pretty good game. And then I believe they're open week for the Sun Devils. And then at Utah.
Yes.
And then they host the Red Raiders. And then they host the Houston Cougars, which
don't scoff at that right now.
Absolutely not. That's why this list suddenly looks a little more daunting. And then they cap this little 6-game run. And it may be a 7-game run, but we'll explain that here in a second. But then they go to Ames on November 1st. You know how that goes. You know what that could look like. And then the next week, at the time, they just that's where the streak ends. Well, the next week they do host West Virginia,
and there is a bye week in between that one. Okay, but still,
you get what I'm saying? Like all of a sudden, West Virginia go, well,
okay. So you look at the Big 12 weekend, and there's still several teams in the conference, Gus, I'm a little confused by, and maybe just because I don't know what to do with them yet. TCU was one of those, by the way, who is going to see SMU this weekend, and I think that's a really interesting game. But West Virginia, and maybe on one hand I do think Pitt's just bad, but West Virginia finds a way to win that game while Pitt was doing everything to not win it. And to give West Virginia credit, they have Jaheim White, who not arguably was their best player, their Big 12 preseason player of the year, really good running back. Unfortunately, lose him for the season, and on top of that, they lose a receiver, and then Ty Edwards steps up and has a 141 3-touchdown day for him. In a rivalry, they found a way to win it. But for the Mountaineers, I go, okay, was that like Rich Rod's, here's my big swing, here's a rivalry win, here's our, it's still going to take us a little bit to rebuild this program. This doesn't necessarily mean we'll win a bowl game, but this is like the memorable win for the fan base this year. And I don't know what the answer to that is, but I'm much more interested after they won that game and then before, to what you're saying.
Yeah.
But that is that stretch you just said, good grief.
Yeah, that's pretty good. And again, we may have looked at that before the season and not thought all of them were that stretch was all that based on what we thought we knew about some of these teams. And again, it's way too early to act like we've got it all figured out. But that's just it feels like what you don't see on that list is a K-State that's been disappointment. You don't see a Colorado on there, But
doesn't that feel weird that that Kansas State's like, man, if you were going to have them, this would be the year. It seems like it would be the year. And for Kansas State, it's so weird because it's like we've said for 2 weeks they'll figure it out. Sure. Well, now
they've got an open week this week, so if they're going to figure it out, isn't this the time?
Right. What is the level of figuring it out though? Like, is it just getting better? Where like, hey, we're going to make a bowl game because at 1-3, I mean, that seems like a really, really tall task, and that's a tall task for a baseline. It's not even a tall task to get back into the Big 12 title conversation. Now, the funny part of that is they're still just 0-1 in conference play, and they haven't technically played their way out of a Big 12 championship yet. But the way they're playing, I mean, we started the season. We had a conversation where I'm just kind of done of saying who has a harder or who has a softer schedule until we see these teams, especially in like a 5-year window in a new conference. And like to what you pointing out for Arizona State is the exact reason why. Because I don't know if I necessarily would have said, yes, I would have said they have a tough matchup at Baylor. And to be honest, in the preseason, I should say, I kind of thought that might be a deciding game for who has one of the spots in Arlington. And now I kind of feel like, well, whoever loses that game, it's more of I'm kind of ruling them out from Arlington from what we've seen. Yeah. And the other one is going to keep their hopes alive. Because I'll be honest, I think your game with Utah has turned into the game that I thought this early season Baylor Arizona State game would be. And by that, I mean, at least for me, for my predictions, whoever wins that game in Salt Lake City is going to have the best foot forward for a spot in Arlington. And I don't necessarily think the loser would get knocked out of that conversation.
Yeah, but the margin for error is just about gone.
Yeah, now we'll see. There's a lot of season to play, but it's funny just how we view these games, how quickly they change now that we have a body of work, right?
Yeah, we want our sheet to be clean, and we want everyone else's to be just carnage. Because I don't think this league's getting 2 teams in.
This on the Yates Flooring Center chat line just sounded like a squeaky bicycle wheel.
The podcast put together with Red Raider fans in mind. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Next year there will be a new head name, believe not the Hokies to that song. It is Tech Talk on Double T 97.3, DoubleTSportsNetwork.com, and the Double T 97.3 mobile app, brought to you by Happy State Bank. We'll get some more of your thoughts and comments on the Yates Flooring Center chat line after.
And Darian Williams knocked it to JT Toppin. Another stop for the Red Raiders. Finally with some defense. Chance McMillan throws it to Elijah Hawkins. Wide open corner 3. Bang! A guns up 3 ball. Timeout Utah.
Yep.
Darian Williams fumbles a pass out to Anderson. He'll shoot a 3. Good night.
Oh, yep. That'll do it.
79-57. The Red Raiders up by 22.
So I couldn't find any highlights from the 1972 or 73 football game. We didn't play Utah in baseball last year, so for Utah Hate Week, I decided to throw out some of the highlights from Red Raider basketball's win in January over Utah. Now, that was a win in Salt Lake City, but that was a horrendous basketball team. Even Utah's football team last year was probably better than Utah. Utah's football team was definitely better than their basketball team last year. We'll say that.
You know what's funny? That was it was a good confidence-building road trip because that's the entire Utah week. But, I mean, you're just coming off that disappointing home loss to UCF. Within 3 or 4 games, you had lost, remember, to Texas A&M in disappointing fashion. Before that, you had a disappointing loss to St. Joseph. So you're like building all of these at this point. The best teams you've played, you've lost to. Like, can you beat these better? Starting to have maybe not immense questions. You knew, or at least I figured you would get it going and figure some things out. But I feel like it started at Utah because you just waxed them. And then you got a really tough win after that against BYU.
Yep, good road trip. That felt like an NBA trip. Mm-hmm. You go do the like a Thursday, Saturday type situation, or maybe a Saturday, Monday, however that was. I remember it. But it was a single road trip, 2 games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah,
and that was a couple road wins too, to pop onto the resume there. Not that the Utah one had a ton of value, but that BYU did.
Was it? I never I'll never stop anybody from partaking into just switch out whatever school it is, whether you have history with them or not, and call it hate week. But I don't always like jump on. I'll just enjoy the back and forth between everybody. But it's hard not to really invest in Utah hate week. You can hear the Ask Level podcast every single week over on doubletsportsnetwork.com or on our YouTube page. And one of the questions from one of our listeners that Choice Whitman pulled from the hat was a very fun one, and I think a very easy answer for me. He had asked Level, is Utah the most annoying fan base in the Big 12? And for him, and I agree with this, it was an incredibly easy yes.
Well, because he was getting chirped about they took a little clip out of context.
But even before that.
Yeah, because he was laying out scenarios. He said something like, if you go up there, and beat them, then this happens. If you go up there and stick it up, that happens. It was something along those lines.
He said that you could go up and thump them, but then he finished it, but you could also be thumped.
And they didn't. Obviously conveniently left that out.
Right.
You know what we could go get for, I don't know who did it, probably not that important, but I'll just leave it at this. Can't say something nice, don't say it at all. I was going to give you a descriptor of the two dudes, but they spent all day yesterday talking about the altitude. I came in here kind of fired up about that yesterday. Like, hey, bro, we're not at sea level. Okay, when Houston comes up there, you got something to talk about. You're at 4,100 feet. They're at 0 feet. Altitude's going to be a factor. All right, we're at 31 out here. I know we're flat as a table. We're still at 3,100 feet. You're at 4,100. Altitude, not that much of a factor. Okay.
It seems like
we clear. Good.
When you have a firm back and forth, and part of it's because I will give them this. They have a very passionate fan base, and I think that's good. The problem, and my problem with them, is it is a passionate fan base that does not want to be here.
No.
They don't want to be associated with the Big 12.
Well, we all want an invitation from the Big 10, by the way. I think we all would take that.
But they carry themselves like they had earned one and that they have been robbed.
Right.
And that this was, like in their minds, it's like that they had to accept an invitation to like the Mountain West again, which they had come from originally, right? Which before that was the WAC, where they had started, correct? If I'm remembering my original conference. Either way, that's how like they viewed joining the Big 12, which kept them relevant on the FBS level because as they can ask over to Washington State and Oregon State, there was a worse outcome, right? And so that's my just like I don't get what they have done in their history that they feel like, well, we don't understand why Oregon or why USC got the invite, but we didn't. And also the ones that are still hanging on to it, like, it's going to happen. It's not going to happen.
Not in the current configuration.
And then in your first year, you added zero value to the conference. Right. Show me athletically what you did to really put your stamp on it. And you're like, oh, we lost our quarterback. Guess what? In the Big 12, it's kind of a hard conference to cry at and find sympathy. Everyone deals with injuries. The fact that you didn't have anybody else in the depth where your offense just fell off the map. And by the way, your defense was so good. That's how horrendous your offense was last year. You couldn't rattle off a few more wins in there. It's a joke.
Well, they're excited about the. They've got the AAU status, which was the other part of that. Their thought that they belong in the Big Ten because the Big Ten's AAU schools, except for Nebraska. Which used to be, and now they're not. But yeah, and so that's the other part of it. But I mean, their challenge is a little bit unique in that they've really not, they've had this stretch of being really good here. But what have they done outside of the Dillingham era, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not Dillingham. Good grief, I went to the wrong coach.
Whittingham.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And look,
but think about it. Their history is really the best of their history is under a guy who's been there for 20-something years, and Hall of Fame coach. All right, Chris Beard. Yeah, I just said it. I know you're the one who's got that phrase locked up and patented, but I just used it. Okay, Hall of Fame coach. But what's going to happen when he's gone?
And they have their coach in waiting, which I think is interesting. It's their defensive coordinator.
Sure.
But and part of this is Gus.
How's it going post only coach you've ever won under at Virginia Tech, Clint? They named a street after the guy. He still comes around, but it's been rough sailing at that place. Like, how much different is Utah going to be? I mean, it's a 50-50 shot, but he's going to be a really tough act to follow.
I will say, at least for them, I think it's, to what you're saying, it's easier said than done. They at least have a guy that has been he is Utah as well, but still, it'll be really interesting. And also, how much longer does Whittingham want to coach? Right? Would he have if they have a good year this year, where it looks like they're going to? I think that they're going to clearly be a top half, if not top 5 team in the league. But if they go 8-4, it's going to be like, okay, I feel better than last year, I'm retired, or does he have another 3-4 years left in the tank? Or more, who knows? It's Tech Talk on Double 297.3.
The podcast that finishes your workday in a very Red Raider way. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Hour number 3 of Tech Talk. You get us on Double T 97.3, DoubleTSportsNetwork.com, and the Double T 97.3 mobile app, brought to you by Happy State Bank. Clint, Gus, and Brennan. At 5:45, we will have Ask Tech Talk. 5:15, round 2 of the Juice. Keeping us up on the H Flooring Center chat line. You can also still call us on the Visual Edge IT hotline, 806-771-0973. We are live from the First United Bank studio for an hour and a half more as we go up to 6:30. Rangers and Astros. Game 2. It was the Astros who won the series opener yesterday, 6-3. Astros looking to repeat that. The Rangers looking for a bounce back. Big series there in Houston. If you would like to watch us, you can do so on Fox 34 News Now, Facebook, and on YouTube. And if you're on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, make sure to follow us there. Old Razzle Dazzle said, I grew up watching Home Improvement, but I binged it on Netflix a couple of weeks ago. Still holds up.
Yeah, it still holds up, doesn't it? It really does.
Is it weird that I was a bigger fan of Tool Time than I was the actual entire show? Like the show within a show as a kid I was a fan of.
Okay.
Specifically like those scenes. Mm-hmm. And then outside of it, as a kid, I don't know, it never really connected.
You like the hottie. You liked it when the hottie was on there. And the hottie ended up being semi-famous, right?
I think so.
There's a thing called the internet.
I'll
Google Tool Time. You think I'll get an answer if I say Tool Time hottie?
I think your algorithm will change a little bit.
Well, that's all right. It'll change for the better, right?
IT might flag your computer.
No, our internet. We've gone through this before.
Relax.
Yeah, there was nothing about sports gambling. He can look up whatever he wants outside of that.
I have very sophisticated algorithms. Point of order, Clint. The first Tool Time girl, Pamela Anderson.
Oh, yeah, so very famous.
Winner, right here.
You did it.
Winning.com. Winning.
How much do you invest or pay attention to ESPN Matchup Predictor? I mean, you have, speaking of spreads, you have point spreads, you have percentages, you have SP, you have all sorts of metrics that you can look up that the computers think will win. But you look up that one often?
Sure.
If you invest in it, I'm going to run through these as they stand right now. You are favored in 7 more games. So if Matchup Predictor was 100% right, you would be 10-2. Do you want to guess the games
that we're not
you're not favored in for Matchup Predictor?
Utah.
That is one of them.
And Arizona State.
I'm going to give you 2 more guesses because I think this one's going to surprise you.
Yeah.
And these change as the season goes, obviously.
Sure. Let's see. Make sure I'm not overlooking someone.
Arizona State, it has you with a 52.2% chance to win.
Are they still hung up on K-State?
They are not. That's bumped all the way up for them to a 64.2% chance that you'll win it.
Is it the fighting Brigham Youngs?
It's BYU.
Wow.
They have this at a 48.6% chance to win. And this is where I go, again, it's just kind of for the sake of this conversation, it's for fun.
Sure.
But I don't understand where they're pulling with that with BYU, because their defense has looked really good so far, but their offense, one's led by a freshman quarterback, but also looked suspect against Stanford of all teams. So I don't understand that one, but I just thought that was interesting. Utah, they give you a 35% chance, which I believe is up by like 2 points.
Okay.
From the non-con or last week or something. So, anyways, thought that was interesting.
Yeah, it really is. Something about that state.
Yeah, something about the state of Utah. Somebody had guessed BYU.
I mean,
and someone also had helped out. I didn't see this. I'm sorry. They had said Pamela Anderson on there.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll have to watch the evolution, if you will, of the true freshman quarterback there.
Mm-hmm. What Big 12 team that isn't Texas Tech, or since they're a focus this week, or Utah, interests you right now? For whatever reason, good, bad?
Yeah. I'm sort of intrigued by, and I don't think I'm surprised by. I think Willie Fritz, everybody expected him to do a good job. Either that or that thing was going to miss for some weird reason, just wouldn't click with players or whatever. But the dude's won everywhere, and it looks like he's getting them on the right track. That, of course, is our next opponent after a week off.
Yeah, I think Houston right now is my number one, and they immediately jumped on the radar.
Yep.
Because they haven't looked explosive. I don't think that the offense is just firing on all cylinders. But, I mean, what they at least made Colorado look like outside of 2 drives was like, okay, well, yes, they have taken a significant step. It wasn't just the Stephen F. Austin or Rice effect, which, again, the offense didn't, blow them out of the water. I'm not going to start saying, well, boy, we overlooked Connor Wegman. He's the best quarterback in the Big 12. But he's done so far what that offense needs him to do. But the biggest thing to me, Gus, is defensively, not only did they lose their defensive coordinator, but on a defense that had taken drastic strides and was the best part of that team last year because the offense was atrocious. They had a lot of turnover roster-wise and had to bring in a lot of new guys, and I just didn't know what that was going to look like. And it doesn't seem like the defense has skipped that much of a beat, and the offense has gotten better. So just kind of that jolt, and the fact that they're on the schedule, like you said, in a couple weeks helps.
Yeah.
Suddenly has my attention.
Yeah, because I'll be honest, I haven't seen enough of BYU yet, but they haven't really been a priority for me yet. Mm-hmm. I don't want to say they haven't been available, but it just hadn't been something that's kind of front and center. Whereas, what was it, Friday night was the Colorado
that was
game, yeah, and that's where we're kind of getting to lay eyes on Houston.
Another team from Friday night has my attention too. Arizona.
Yeah, I agree.
I am very intrigued by how much they have improved.
Yes.
Or haven't, and it was just Kansas State.
It's that new offensive coordinator, proud of Lubbock, Texas.
I know. Good for Seth Dagey.
Yes, sir.
Good for him, by the way. It is Tech Talk on Double T 97.3.
The podcast that finishes your workday in a very Red Raider way. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
It is Tech Talk on Double T 97.3, an hour more with us as we go up to 6:30. Keep hitting us up on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Thoughts, comments, questions, all of that welcome there. Gus, through non-conference play, from what you saw from the Red Raiders, what you've heard either from our conversations or Raymar conversations, national conversations, whatever, who do you think on this team we have not talked about enough.
Ooh. Yeah, because the
Who's
running
going
back
under the radar?
Yeah, the running back room's gotten a lot of talk. Maybe those corners. Maybe the corners. Yeah. Maybe broaden it a little to the DBs.
I think that's an interesting pick
because
safeties.
You know what?
If you do your entire
the safeties
secondary,
might be the answer.
Yeah,
because the safeties might be playing well, and we just haven't heard their name called.
You haven't.
Right. They haven't been
really
tested in the air, and really haven't had a lot of running plays get to them. But that doesn't mean the other side of that would be, one of the coaches going, "Hey, those guys have been on point with their reads and their calls and da 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 da." The things that they may feel good about that, because we haven't really heard. I'm not saying we haven't heard from Wisniewski, but
he was in on more plays this week because
they were throwing it a bunch.
Yeah, and your defense played a little bit longer, and it was a different offense, and so it's like I'm with you. Your defensive front was so good and controlled the game against Pine Bluff and Kent State so much. It's almost like you didn't really have a chance to to like brag about the safeties or anything like that. But yeah, I think that's a good pick, and I think from again what I can tell that they've done, and when especially when Wisniewski's needed to be up at the line of scrimmage or stick his nose in a play, he's done that, but they really haven't had that much of a chance to shine, and that's a compliment, right?
Yep,
yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, there have been years where the safety was the household name where our safety, when the front was getting gashed and opponents are running all over the place and having a ton of success, but not this year. And that's a good thing, or at least not through 3 games. And none of these teams have really gotten their running game going. I mean, if we stifle their run game, I'd be pleasantly shocked because it's what Utah has built their brand on. I guess what maybe that's a way of saying, hey, if we don't hear Wisniewski's name again this week, that'd be quite great, right? I mean, it could be.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah. It doesn't feel like that. It feels like this would be a big week for him. We could get challenged, and because this is going to be an interesting week with just the dual threat quarterback and the amount of running game that he's employed in. Somewhere there's an extra player. A lot of times in situations like that, you got to bring a safety into the box. This may be a big week for John Curry at Star.
Mm-hmm. Well, so this is on Red Raider Recon, which is coming out tomorrow. Give you a little preview. Something that Rob and I talked about. What I think is interesting is it's going to start. Can you control their run game? Because if they're running all over you, I don't expect this to be the case. If they're running all over you, then there's not really much you're going to be able to do to set up like the maybe erratic nature that I do think is still in Devin Dampier, but they have dominated their opponent so much they haven't really been forced, or I should say Dampier has not been forced back into a situation like that. And so for your defensive line, when you have a quarterback like this, in my mind, I always think of it as like, yeah, you have to go make a play, but really you have to go make a couple of plays if you're going to do this right? Because when you do, let's say, hopefully force them into some passing situations, if you can get a lead, I think that's the best thing, because I don't think Utah is built for any sort of shootout. I just don't think that that's what their strength is. But first play is, hey, do you beat that offensive tackle? Do you beat that guard? Do you beat whoever is chipping you to get to him? And then if you flush him, either you or whoever's on the other side, do they finish the play or make this where it is, okay, now I can't pull it because he's right there, so I'm just going to throw this into traffic. And I'm not sure as far as the Devin Dampier that was there last year that did have a tendency to make very questionable throws. We haven't had to see it yet because their opponents, they just wrecked them, right? And so this is where I go back into, yes, they're your biggest test. They'll be your stiffest competition, but they haven't seen a defense like yours yet.
Right.
And Devin Dampier hasn't had to make decisions against a defense like yours. And one of the biggest deciding factors will be that, hey, their offensive line is legit. Those guys are real. They are fantastic, and can dominate a game and not allow or give plenty of chances to not make mistakes, if you will, because Dampier's sitting back there comfortable and can wait to throw it until he's for sure that a guy is open, or say, all right, I've been back here 3-4 seconds. There's a hole right there. There's a lane right there.
Yeah.
And so that can't be you this week. And you have built this roster for that not to be you this week or throughout the whole season. So I think that battle will be one of, if not the biggest deciding factors in this game. I think you can flip the conversation too, because their defensive line, especially at edge, they've got some dudes over there. So, I what I think is interesting about them is their secondary isn't young, but it's inexperienced. Outside of Tao Johnson, and they had another safety that they just lost for the season. So outside of him, they don't have a lot of experience there. And at least through watching, especially the UCLA game, Iamaleava just flat out missed on some throws that I don't think Baron Morton will. And so if you can give him time, if you just flip the conversation, I know you can say, oh, you win in the trenches every single week. Yes, but I think that this is the best example on both sides. You just cannot lose those battles.
No.
Otherwise, you will lose the game.
And I can't imagine Dampier doesn't get loose at points, but it can't turn into the game in Pullman last year. It can't turn into a running back going off for 170 yards.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. I'm excited for the test because I just have a lot of faith in your defense, especially your front. I mean, it's like I'm not scared of that offense, but I respect it.
Absolutely.
There's Chris Beard, but so it's like with that respectful offense, can you shut him down?
This has been the Tech Talk Podcast, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Check out our library of Double T 97.3 podcasts at doublet97.3.com.